It's been a while since I made a video on Fallout 4, but you know what? Yesterday Fallout 4 got a new update, and it felt like it was time to return to this game. And by God, did it feel good after so long with Fallout 76. So yes, as many of you guys did notice, yesterday Fallout 4 got a 2.93 gigabyte update on PS4 and Xbox One. It was actually still pretty large on PC at roughly 400 megabytes, the bulk of this new update being new things in Creation Club. And I know at this point, a lot of you guys would be like, alright, I'm done, but I would actually hold out for this one. This is probably what I would call the best batch of new releases in Creation Club thus far. Like, there is some genuinely high quality content here. All of these new releases were actually teased roughly around a month ago now. I totally missed that. Nobody messaged me telling me that was posted, so unfortunately I never made a video on it, but now we actually have the full released versions. I'll show you most of the new content that was released. Some of them I didn't end up buying if they're just skins or something like that, because the images that I'll show you in the background do pretty much speak for what they're going to be. But before we jump into that, I know a lot of people had a pretty big question about what was going to happen to Fallout 4 and Creation Club with the release of Fallout 76. I did too. And based on this update, obviously it still is going on. This is definitely a bit of a holiday themed update, but even beyond that, one thing we actually do know by looking at the fallout4.ccc file that pretty much always gets updates when the game gets updated. In this you see all of the file names, but with this it looks like Creation Club is living on. We have two new file names that aren't in this newly released batch, and I can't really make much out of them. One of them is Q-Thun, maybe Q-Thunder or something along those lines. I don't really know what that would actually pertain to. And then the other one being CR75L, another one that I'm not entirely sure of. Q-Thund is actually made by Bethesda themselves, while the other one is actually made by a mod author in the community, so we'll have to wait. But yeah, even though Creation Club did take a bit of a hiatus with Fallout 76 coming out, it looks like it is still going to be a thing over the next couple of months. And I'll be honest, after this update, which I'll show you now, I'm not too disappointed about that. So the first of the new additions that I actually did want to check out was the PINT-SIZED slasher, and this adds in a very interesting new costume, and basically it's going to take you on the path of finding out what happened to, or where is the pint-sized slasher in Fallout 4. The premise of the story takes place after the bombs drop, and more or less you're going to read through several terminal entries, and actually one part of this quest involves you having to look for clues in a room, and I gotta say, this was well done, because it didn't really hold your hand as much as some of the other quests in Fallout 4. I felt like a genuine sleuth trying to look for some of the evidence as to where to go next, and it wasn't too long or too large of a room that it was frustrating, just genuinely enjoyable. I got a sense of pride and accomplishment after finding all of those clues on my lonesome. And all in all, I gotta say, the quest for this one, although quite short, was a ton of fun. And it's up there with one of my favorite quests in Creation Club thus far. It definitely was really cool to see what happens, and there's kind of a bit of a surprise in it. But then of course, in the end, you actually do end up getting a new weapon as well as this new outfit. That's really all you're going to be left with over the long term with this one, so you have to actually like them. The new outfit is going to be pretty cool, and the new knife that you do get is also pretty cool. Both of them are legendary items, and honestly, if you do have $4 or 400 points just laying around in your account, or you buy one of the bundles for one of these other items, I would say pick this one up. It's definitely pretty fun to experience. Now, I wouldn't say it's worth buying the entire 800 point bundle for, but it's definitely pretty close. Next up, we do have the ZETAN arsenal, which I'm probably saying wrong. This is effectively going to add in a bunch of the weapons that did appear in the Mothership Zeta DLC for Fallout 3. A lot of these are super memorable and hold a special place in our heart. This is another one that had a pretty cool quest. It was even shorter than the previous one, but it'll definitely leave me with a few memorable experiences. With a lot of the weapons in Creation Club, I didn't expect a ton from these, but they were unique, and after picking them up off the bodies, they definitely look pretty cool. Each one is definitely high quality, and it's pretty much on par with the kind of content you'll find from modders now. But when I actually went to modify these, that's where I was actually blown away. When you look at some of the modifications for these weapons, it's really mostly in the barrel department, but some of those different barrels do look quite distinctively different, and they actually make a big impact on the weapon overall. So now, of course, there's only 3 weapons included with this, but with some of the modifications, you could really give them totally distinctive feels. Plus, if you like energy weapons, I think this would actually be a pretty decent deal. This is the kind of content I feel like for a while I've been saying I've wanted out of Creation Club, actually, and I think this one kind of delivers. $6 is no doubt a lot of money for weapons in a video game, but if you see this one on sale, or if you just want to buy some new Creation Club stuff, I would say this is a pretty good deal. Weapons are one of those things that you're going to use time and time again with your character character or even different characters, and I would argue this is in the top 5 releases overall in Creation Club, just as far as quality at a certain price goes. But then to get into the festive season, we also do have the Holiday Workshop Pack. The Workshop Packs are pretty renowned for actually being particularly good deals, and I gotta say, this one is another one that delivers. It has a short quest that actually is pretty cool. It involves you getting some presents and delivering them to the children of Diamond City. Even though you never interact or encounter any of the children, you know in your heart that they got presents that year, so it makes you feel good about yourself. It actually adds in a few different costumes that are particularly cool. I could definitely see myself using this one over the long term, even out of season. And there's also some paint jobs, but I was too lazy to get all those armors and do it, so here's some images that convey them pretty well. And some of these paint jobs actually are really cool. We've seen a lot of them through Creation Club, but I say these in particular, if you're playing Fallout 4 around the holidays, are going to be quite fitting and fun to use. But then that takes us to the bulk of this new one, that's with the new workshop items. And it adds in a lot of stuff, and a lot of really cool stuff. Of course, pretty much all of this is going to be Christmas themed. You have various things like nutcrackers, fireplaces, and those are actually interactable. You can place stockings on the fireplace and they kind of snap into position. There's quite a wide variety of different stocking choices and things like that. But even cooler than that, you could actually place down Christmas trees with this and decorate them with a bunch of different ornaments. These also all snap into place, and you could really customize this here. Add on some lights, which are also an option. And all in all, looking through all the different workshop items, I would be sold if I used workshops. I honestly don't, so it's not really worth the $7 to me, but if you even kind of build in Fallout 4, I would say this is a pretty good bargain also. There are a lot of different workshop items here, and the outfits and paint jobs on top of that actually don't really make it too bad of a deal. Again, it's going to be very situational. If you don't build, I don't think you'll really want just the outfit and just the paint jobs. In that case, it would actually maybe go for the ZETAN arsenal instead. But then last but not least, the other thing added that I didn't actually end up covering was 2 skin bundles. Each of these are faction based, and each one's going to run you 400 points. They're 2 separate products though, so to get both, you're going to have to spend 800 points or $8 give or take. These are pretty cool. One thing that I think might be appealing to some of you is how they kind of cover a more oddity of factions, not some of the more mainstream ones. So you get paint jobs from the Children of Adam, the Enclave, Riley's Rangers, the Tunnel Snakes, and Pikmin armor skins. So if you don't know, the way armor and weapon skins work is they're going to affect pretty much all of the vanilla weapons. As you can probably tell by the screenshots, they look differently or apply differently on some of these, so sometimes they'll have a little bit more features than other times. Again, I never ended up purchasing this one, so take what I say with a grain of salt, but it definitely seemed like on the more expensive side. Plus they're just skins, so I didn't feel like you needed another shot of them. I feel like the images convey them good enough. But yeah, all in all, otherwise, I would say this is probably the best batch of Creation Club releases we've ever had. Now, without a doubt, is still on the pricey side, but it's not as bad as it used to be. And even beyond that, if some of you guys actually just have the points in your account, or you just returned Fallout 76 and you want to spend some money on Bethesda-related content for some reason, this is a decent outlet to do so. I really hope this is indicative of the future. Maybe it's because Fallout 76 is out now, there's less pressure on Creation Club, or just more time in between releases, so we're getting higher quality products. But either way, I'm pretty okay with this. I would say almost anything in this, if it went on sale in the future, would be a pretty good buy. Like I could see any of these being 30 to 40% off and me immediately being like, yeah, that's actually kind of worth it. It took over a year, but hey, Creation Club is actually getting some pretty decent content, or at least what I would call pretty decent content. Maybe I'm just brainwashed by how ridiculously overpriced and offensive the Atomic Shop in Fallout 76 is, but I would definitely call this one a win for Creation Club. I'd love to hear your guys' opinions in the comments actually, because I know supporting Creation Club's fairly controversial, but what do you guys think? Do you think these things are worth the money? Do you think they are blatant and total ripoffs? But either way, before we end this video off, I do want to share today's psychology fun fact of the day, and that's going to be about you and your memory and your thoughts about your memory. So something recurrent that you'll learn if you're a psych student yourself, or if you just read about psychology, is the fallibility of humans. I mean, it's pretty obvious and natural. I think most people agree with the statement that we aren't perfect and we all have faults. It's a fairly easy statement to agree with in all honesty. But when you get down to specifics, it seems like people have a lot more problems with that. One specific one is actually your memory. In practice, a lot of people actually feel like their memory works like a camera. Even though you right now might not agree with that statement while I'm saying it, if you actually do apply this, if you're in a situation where you're trying to recall what happened, a lot of people would trust their memory pretty confidently. And in reality, research actually shows that it's to an inaccurate degree. People have more faith in their memory than their memory is accurate. And this isn't really to say that our memory memory is horrible or everything you're thinking about is totally inaccurate, most of the big picture stuff, the actual event that's happening, we got correct. Where things get a lot more muddy is with some of those peripheral details, like what that person was wearing, maybe what that person looked like if that wasn't central to the memory itself or the event going on, when it happened, how you actually found out that something happened. Something I've talked about on the channel in the past though is the reconstructive theory of memory. It's basically the idea that our memories aren't set in stone, they could change over time and we don't always realize that. One example of this would actually be like, let's say you see a car crash. Maybe you only saw it from the corner of your eye out of your peripheral vision and you got a rough idea of what happened but not a complete one. Later on you watch the news and actually hear about that car crash and it'll fill in some of the blanks, some of the things that you don't necessarily remember originally. Well, in that situation, a lot of people actually fill in the blanks of their memory also though. So people would remember more of the car crash, but it wasn't their true memory, it was based off what they saw on the news, but they didn't realize that. People will think they're remembering things just as they saw them at the event, but in reality, a few of those holes were filled in by other sources, and now you're just remembering it as a more complete picture. But yeah, that's pretty much gonna wrap it up for this one. As always, again, I thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope to see you all next time. Later.